All right, back at it. And Saturday is my favorite day of racing because you get competitive fields. And racing has changed a lot, so there's not as many competitive races, but at least there is there's a possibility of making money today. I'm wearing my Pressure is Privilege hat in honor of Mr. Nichols yesterday, who and I he and I discussed the complexities of betting in a tournament, especially when all the scratches come and you get kind of screwed over based on just, destiny, whatever, but it didn't hurt either of us. So today I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk a little bit about um, two things. One is the sovereignty race that everyone keeps talking about, which is a disaster, um, complete, utter disaster. Most people get excited for big races because of big names. They love their horses. Um, I'd be, you guys can, Shoes got some stuff going on today, so we'll get them on tomorrow. And I wanted to throw a few lobs out there, but do you do you know that I won't? Well, I'll be rooting for sovereignty or journalism, and this is one of those classic examples where in betting, if you don't have an opportunity to make to offset the takeout, the approach is to root for the favorites. And the reason you root for the favorites is so that you can bet against them next time because they just continue to get hyped and hyped and hyped. And so when people are watching these races, um, they shouldn't be betting this Oaklawn race today, in my opinion. But I mean, if you like one of these price horses, go for it. I have no problem with that. But betting a horse that'll be 2 to 5, or betting a horse that'll be what, probably 3 to 1, 2 to 1, it just doesn't make sense. And to me, the probability is, how are you offsetting a 30% situation? And the reason I say 30 is because 20% to the takeout, and then you have to make 10% in the race. So how are you going to say that sovereignty doesn't have like a 50% chance or a 40% chance? Certainly doesn't have a 70% chance. But even if the horse does get bet to 60 or 50%, and journalism gets bet to, I don't know, 2 to 1, 30%, 33%, that doesn't give you the offset you need in order to make a bet. So this is the type of race that you can tell your own friends in your mind, I don't need to bet this race whatsoever. No offense, Oaklawn. I'm sure that there's other races around it that people might want to indulge in. But even with that said, to justify betting a horse at such low odds, it destroys every single possible payout. So I don't really think that's discipline, but some people think that's like a big deal. Shoe might be like, "Oh my god, I can't not bet this race." So, obviously, if you're in a tournament, if you're in the mythical stuff, you're gonna go ahead and just take price. Um, if you're playing in a bigger tournament, well, there's no big tournaments today, not that there's a big tournament today, but there's a couple of things, 500, 1,000. Um, but this is the kind of muscle that I encourage horse players to work out on a regular basis. You don't even need to bet $1. You could if you just wanna have a little something in the race to show that this is what you would do, but the idea is to get into your tracking. And by tracking, I mean you wanna understand what your brain is really saying, and then what you're gonna do to execute that. So, I'm I'm coming on this show and other shows and stuff because I feel like too many horse players are throwing money away, and obviously, I have to keep a little of some stuff close to my chest, especially in tournaments, but there's some basic principles. And if you think sovereignty is going to win, what's the point? You like the horse, you love the horse, there's no way justifiably you can explain to me how this horse has a 70% chance, like, this horse will be bet today. And I don't necessarily think the horse is gonna run the best race. It's a long time. They're not pointing for this race regardless. And same with journalism's coming off a long rest. So if you were to bet it, obviously you're gonna take the price. Beyond that, White Abarrio, okay, that's a fair point. Do you play White Abarrio in this race? Um, I can't argue at 4 to 1 or above, but I just don't think you're gonna get that. And I can check just really quickly here to see what might be some of the odds here in this race overseas, just to get a flavor. But again, if you're gonna be profitable, the key is discipline and working out this muscle that says no. Most people can say no to a lot of things in life. Bad stocks, bad people, jobs, time, energy, certain foods. Some people can't resist certain foods. It's all the same frequency. So if you're going to get your morning workout and you didn't go for a run or you didn't lift weights, this is one of your workouts for the day. Sit on your damn hands. Don't get sucked into this. And again, I could be wrong. And sovereignty is not going to run, at least 20, probably 20 to 40% of the time, his best race. So I have no problem with you betting against sovereignty. I do have a problem with you betting on him, and I have a problem with you betting on journalism. Even if either of them win today, it doesn't mean I'm wrong. This is the long run game. If you're playing the long run game, you're not concerned with a little bit of ego stroking that comes from identifying a horse at 2 to 5 or 3 to 5 that's going to win a race. So, horse players, people, if you like the races around it, again, resist. You don't need to bet a pick 3 or a pick 4. You don't need to get sucked into this stuff. If there was another good horse in that race, it might be interesting because now you have, a foursome. And a lot of times you really need a foursome because if you don't get a foursome, then you can't extract the value. And I'm going to say it one more time. The only way you can make a bet on a horse race is if you can overcome 20% takeout and you can earn, in my opinion, 10%. So you got to overcome 30% in a race. And I hope some balm comes in. And again, like I said, if you don't bet on sovereignty or journalism, you're fine, to me. But this is the theme of what I'm trying to do here is to pick your spots. And I can't find the odds on what journalism is going to be right now, or sovereignty or White Abarrio. If you know, you can throw in the chat. But anyway, it's one of those things where people like to talk about horse racing because we love it so much. Oh, again, if you're in a tournament, if you're hanging out with your friends, don't you want to be right and actually make a statement? So save your breath, be patient, and find the one race on the day. The one race. And this is going to be major discipline, and I'm sure nobody's going to do it, which is fine. But find the one race on the day that you want to slam, that you think is your love it race. And if it's going to be a love it race, you got to overcome 30% in the takeout, 20% in the takeout, 10% profit. If you're betting horse racing and you're not trying to make a profit, then you don't need to talk to me or listen to me, whatever. It doesn't matter. Not that you're going to listen to me anyway. But I'm inviting you into the realm of walking away from these interference patterns that will not tell you the truth. You know, people are lying to themselves that they're doing well on horse racing. If you can't track your bets and hit your targets, if you have 25% 3-to-1 shots and you're betting them once a month, once a week, once a day, 5 times a day, you need to be able to hit that number on the nose, plus or minus like a few percent. So that's my invitation in your world is figure out a way to start tracking your bets, figure out a way to qualify your confidence. This is about you, and this is about you one-on-one with yourself so that you understand what you're actually doing and what you think you're doing. So as you sit there and you look at the race card today, or whether it's Laurel or Keeneland, I'm going to be playing this Laurel tournament just for fun. Because 10,000 for first and a BCBC plus $5,000, that's 15K. So if I have, I don't know, call it 5% chance today because it's really hard. That's 1 out of 20 times I break even. The math is if I'm sacrificing $250 into a pot of money against other horse players, and if I say I'm going to win it 1 out of 20 times, that's 1 out of 20, right? 20 times 250, which is 5K. So I'm sacrificing 5K to break even. And the prize money is 15K basically today, based on 120 entries. I'm assuming it's going to get to that because people are kind of talking about it. So that's another piece to this is getting your ducks in a row to understand your calls, your takes, labeling them, not just casually speaking them into the air and into the ether and throwing them out there. Oh my God, I like this horse. I love this and whatever. It's like, I'm the type of person that thinks that words are worlds. And if your words are not consistent and you're not doing what you intend to do, it's just inauthentic. And I just feel like horse players are some of the most authentic, real, deep thinkers, risk takers, calculated risk takers. They're a breed, men, women, older, younger, love this community. This is one of the reasons I'm doing this is because if I don't do something, I feel like horse racing is going to die. I really believe that I don't know how much longer racing is going to be in California. I don't know how much all these other gambling opportunities are going to take away from the sport. Obviously, there's issues with horse welfare. Takeout has been a plague for decades, and it's not going away. So what can we do? We have to vote with our dollars. We have to be disciplined. But if as individuals, horse players cannot do what they intend to do, which is try and hit a number, meaning, are you trying to break even? Are you trying to be a big shot? Are you trying to be a CAW? Are you trying to lose 5%? Are you trying to win 5%, 10%? If you're trying to make, this just a hobby, that's cool too. As long as you understand, just have a come to Jesus moment and say, my hobby is costing me 10, 20, 30% a year. What does that translate into in terms of dollars? How many dollars am I betting for my entertainment experience? And then comes the beautiful time fairy. Time is all we have. And as we grow into the boomer world, because so many of us that love horse racing are over 60 or 70, time is in some ways a paradox. It's more important for some because some people are still working at their life and they have families, and some people have crushed it and they're just retired and they're just betting for fun. But that time, to me, needs to be addressed. If you're spending an hour on your hobby on the weekends and you're spending a few whatever the budget you have, and I would always recommend keeping it, between a few, like 1 or 2% of your bankroll. As you get better, you can move that up, and there's something called the Kelly equation that we can talk a lot about when it comes to making your bets if you have the ability to pick probabilities. If you can't put a number on a horse, you probably have a 2% chance of making money in horse racing. And a lot of people hate math, and there's a lot of amazing people that can just look at horses and say things, "Oh, this is a good bet. This is a bad bet." But if you cannot put a number on a horse and you're playing a game with money, then you're kind of in a daze, you're kind of in a cloud. And that's where I want people to just recognize what they're doing. Like, and again, I have no problem if you love this game, just have fun. Like, I mean, the reason I got good at it is because when I was a kid, I used to run around and when I was betting, I was betting, a few bucks here and, after school and stuff like that. So to me, it's about knowing yourself, quantifying yourself, evaluating the whole day. So your job as a professional hobbyist, tournament player, mythical player, cash player. I mean, I'm not talking about the CAWs right now because, they've got, full-fledged teams that are, you know, overanalyzing, psychoanalyzing the intricacies of every horse race to get to, a minus 3 to 5 to 8% so they can get that, that rebate. And that's fine. And they're needed because without them, the pools would get cut in half, and then you wouldn't even be able to bet a five or $10,000 bet ever. So we have to recognize that there's an ecosystem here. And in this ecosystem, the small fish are getting completely destroyed by the sharks. And the question is, what should the loss be for horse players? Like, where should it be? Well, it should be 15%, if you're to 15 to 20%. And if you're at 30 to 50, which is what, like, I think Cummings had said a lot of the players are at that are retail players. If you want to lose that kind of money to play horse racing, that's fine. That's up to you. As long as you know what you're doing. And I think that that's where, gambling is such a low frequency because it's this idea of getting rich quick. And if you have that dream, there's the lottery, there's plenty of games to play, and the lottery is criminal, just basically a tax on the poor to get people to spend dollars, to try to it's painful. But if you like to compete like I do, and you're someone that wants to show off what you know, because horse racing is cool because you see things that nobody else sees. Now, I've dedicated pretty much every weekend of my life to this, tens of thousands of hours. So I'm coming from a place of deep certainty, deep knowledge, commitment. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to win every year. I'm going to win every race. Obviously, if you're a true horse player, you understand that if you're going to be really good, you're going to win probably 1 out of 5 times, meaning you're going to hit 1 out of 5 races. And that's another piece to this is understanding that in baseball, if you're going to be hitting 300, you're really talented. In horse racing, if you're hitting 200, you're really talented. Those fundamental philosophies are glossed over a lot. And I'm talking about win betting right now. So if you're not going to be betting in the win pool, then you're in the gimmicks and you're in outer space. The enchantment of hitting a pick six or a pick five is it's hard to walk away from. I've lost tons of money in the pick six, years and years ago when I used to play it. I haven't played the pick six much in the last 10 years. If there's a carryover and I have 2 really strong opinions, yes, I will entertain it. But the denominations being so low and everybody buying all these combos from the bigger groups, it's lost its allure for me. But again, you're talking about 0.1%, 0.5% type bets, and they're very expensive. So I really want everyone to start thinking about going back to the basics, going back to the fundamentals. And it may sound presumptuous for me to say that you're not making money, and maybe you are, and I'm not casting aspersions at people that I don't know, because I'm just going off of what I hear and what I see. And if you do struggle and you do struggle to find the bets, like I struggle to find bets now, especially with all the intelligence out there. Um, the game must be you must be a precisionist. So think about, again, quantifying a race, finding a few races a day, plenty of racetracks to look at. And instead of betting all of your money evenly across all of the bets and the races of the day, casually, instead of being casual, go into a mindset of this is a tournament. This is a do or die situation, and your calling, your mission in life is to make money today. If you take on a mindset where you cannot fail, or you will let someone down, including yourself and others, and that might be the case a lot of times. Hopefully, again, number one, you have to be betting with money you can lose until you prove yourself that you can win. Then you have to get clear on your accurate abilities to quantify what your brain is telling you. Just because a horse is potentially going to lose a race doesn't mean that you bet the race. So that's another thing to think about, is when is the race bettable? So probability's got to be in order, got to have the money, got to have the discipline, got to lay out your cards for the day, got to look at everything. And when you've looked at all your horses on the day, categorize them into tiers. And then after you have your tiers together, tag them. And when I say tag them, just use something as simple as I love it or I like it. If you don't, then just say it's an average bet. It's neutral, whatever. So take on a mindset now. You're training for the betting Olympics. You're trying to finally actually get good at this game. And there's a lot of resources out there. I'm one. I'm happy to I'm in a place in my life where I wanna get back. I wanna help players get to a certain place. I wanna teach people how to fish to an extent. Um, but it all comes back down to math and discipline and presence. And that's the thing, is if you can't do math and you can't put numbers on horses and set, bottom lines, if you can't set a bottom line on a horse and say, "I will no longer bet this horse because of um, because it's just not profitable." If you can't do that, then you're not disciplined enough to make money at the game, and that's okay. I am checking something in the background here so I can see what I'm gonna do here, because I may just have to make a little something into this Laurel tournament, and I don't know if anybody is watching Laurel right now, but Laurel is having a contest, and I'm gonna mention it again, and the contest is as simple as, um, you win 15K if you're right. So if I have 5% chance and I'm risking a 250 bucks, I'm risking 5 grand long term. And I know a lot of you are not going to follow that. There's a 10K opportunity here at Laurel. So what that means is, what's the amount? What is it going to take to get to that amount? And that's what I'm trying to think about. And I might draw the line, because a lot of people, most people don't really care, but if you did want to think about how I'm going to be playing today in a tournament, I'm trying to get to a certain number, and if I get there and I win, great, and if I don't, I don't. And now I have to play the game of the beloved odds drops at Laurel. So I don't really care that much for this race. It's fine, but maybe I should consider maybe I should consider the odds over the horse that I favored a little bit. And this is where it gets interesting. So I will just have to take the odds that I think are going to be there. And again, this isn't, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm playing a tournament and it's not about the horse that I like. It's about the odds. And so when I'm playing the odds, and there's the drop down to 3-1. But anyway, this is not about me loving a horse in a race. It's I'm doing my best to project the odds of the horses to get me to a number. So that's the neutrality or the what do you call it? The discipline it takes. And I'm not sure if you're watching this race, and it's just cutting out in and out, but I want to see, if I can have the odds in my favor, because sometimes these things drop and you're just like, and you're stuck. And it's like sometimes, the horse wins that you like more, sometimes the horse wins that you like less. And in this case, I guess I'm gonna cash. So this was a Laurel race real fast. Not a big deal, 3-1. The majority of these horses, these top 3 horses, are all around 20% maybe, something like that, 20 to maybe low 20s. So initially going into the race, I don't have a strong opinion. If I put a number to it, I'm not attached emotionally. And I think that's something that some of us are better at than others. Some of us can walk away from situations because we're neutral. Some of us have different, you're gonna laugh, different star signs that will wire you to be different, and you can handle more emotion or less emotion. Myself. So if I put a number on a horse, 3-1, 25%, 22%, 72, whatever you want, and I look at the odds, then I'm not it's not really a decision. If the odds are there, and this is what sucks, is these CAW odds drops. The horse I bet was 5, and he went off at 3 at Laurel. Again, I don't love this horse. I'm not gonna bet this money with cash. I'm in a tournament. I'm trying to get to a certain number. To get to that number, I have to give up $250 and throw it into a pot with other players. And when I do that, I have to ask myself, how often am I gonna win? If I said earlier I have a 5% chance today at Laurel because that's not my bread and butter, that means I'm gonna lose 19 times. Call it 20. 20 times I lose. $250 every time I play. 5 grand given away into the player pools over the course of the next 10, 20 tournaments at this price point. The prize money today, 10,000 for BCBC and 4 or 5 grand if there's like 120 players. I'm assuming there's gonna be that kind of play, that amount of players just based on the buzz, people talking about the tournament. That's why I'm playing today. And I have a little time in the morning before I have other responsibilities this afternoon. Time, again, matters to me. I have looked at the Laurel card. I have laid out my 3 races. I will bet those 3 races. Fortunately, I hit the first race. I had a horse he wasn't even my top horse in the race. But when he was sitting at 5 and I threw a 20 to 25% tag on him, I knew he was gonna drop. I was hoping he dropped to 4. He dropped to 3. This is why I don't play cash, especially in that situation when there's no edge, unless I'm getting 92, and I know I'm not gonna get 92 on that horse. And even then, I still would there's a lot of variance to my the accuracy of my probability. So, we'll see. I mean, I crossed a bridge to the next point now with that entry, and I'll have, I don't know, probably around 1,000, and it doesn't mean anything right now. Literally, it means nothing other than I've gone from a 5% chance to this is where it gets vague. I don't know what the leader's gonna have in this tournament. This is a small tournament. It can be sometimes crazy because everyone's betting everything when it's only 250 bucks, everyone's just gonna send, and that makes it more competitive. But I'm only gonna bet on the horses I like. I'm not just gonna throw cash around, but here I am, it's like I was at Keeneland. I have decisions to make. When I have such a small amount at 1K in a tournament that starts at 250 and my goal is to finish first, there is no, um, there's nothing wrong with betting that 1,000 on anything that's gonna get me to my what I believe the winning number. Because let's say I bet a horse at 4 to 1. If I bet a horse at 4 to 1 and I win and I get to 5K, that's 20 times the original amount in the tournament. So if I'm at 5K and I bet a horse at 4 to 1, if I normally bet 1,000 at 4 to 1, I'm getting a 4K situation. If I'm now getting 15K on top of that 4K, I'm getting 19K or 18K, whatever. I'm getting 17 to 1. So that's if I bet a 4 to 1 shot that I gotta like. The funny part is it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter because you could bet a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, a 8, a 9, a 10, or you could bet 2 10 to 1 shots. It's all the same. It's all value. The prize money is so high that it's worth a shot. Now, the KDBC is coming up too. And I had Nichols on last night, and we were talking about when do you go, when do you not go. In the tournament that he beat me in, I had a decision to make with like almost, right under 30K. It's like, do you spend, 2K, 5K? How much do you spend to try to win an extra 30K? If I'm sitting in second with 30 something thousand as prize money, actually I was sitting in first at the time. And I assume, and I said it when I was on the live stream that's on my show. If you want to watch that, you can watch me. Shows you what superstition's all about because you have to be a certain way when you watch races. Not to get in certain places with things negative or positive. You just kind of sit there neutral and watch. But in that race, I don't know what someone's going to finish with, but I assumed even when I hit it, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to finish second because I only got to 30K, and I made an error not getting to 40 because I didn't have a way to get to 40. Except if I bet more in the earlier races. So I'm gonna wrap up my point, which I didn't say yet. In the last race, I can bet 5K to win on the favorite. If I bet 5K, I would normally get a 2 to 1 10K. Instead of getting 10K, assuming I'm gonna finish second still, the difference is 30 something thousand. So 30 something thousand plus the 10K, 40K. So is it worth it for me to bet 5 grand at 2 to 1 in the final race at the tournament to get 40K? Sure. I'm getting 7 to 1. 5 times 7 is 35 plus my 5 back, or however you want to do the math. 5, 7 eighths, 1. There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't feel, and this is where the complexity comes in. I just didn't have the confidence to do that, or I would have waited and saved my money to do that at the end anyway. But that's the intuition. I cannot argue with a player that does that. It's just, it wasn't for me that day. And that's the muscle, like knowing when you're playing football, and I didn't play football. I do have a good video on the Super Bowl a couple years ago where I was very adamant about how the Eagles should be bet at 4-1 to win the Super Bowl is best bet in the last 10 years. Sometimes you just have to throw that stuff out there. Football is an amazing game in the playoffs to bet, by the way. But when you're playing football and you're going to understand the gaps as a running back, and you know where you're supposed to go, there's guys like Kenneth Walker, who, there's a reason he got let go. He doesn't follow the rules. He doesn't do what the coaches tell him. He improvises. He's like a jazz musician. If you're a good improviser, and I thought he should have been the lead back all season long, and anyway, they won the Super Bowl. They knew what they're doing. But the point is, there's certain situations like that where you can improvise and you can be really good. I'm not going to say that I don't improvise. I improvised in the BCBC last year. I bet I got up to 30,000, bet 25,000 on Beza to win the Breeders' Cup. Lost that. Saved like 2K just in case, because I was going to play this one, maybe this one try in this race, and I played 2 tries, and I ended up just improvising. Not really part of the game plan, but I was like, Chancellor McPatrick can easily come third in this race. And so it put me back up to 29,000 off of like a $800 straight try. Or there's 2 horses I used in second with Nisos. So the improvised approach is something for a seasoned player. And so in that last race at Keeneland, you can improvise and you can, justify, I'm going to bet 5K and get 7-1, and I'm going to go ahead and slam it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with almost anything you do in the last race if you have money. Even if you don't have a lot of money. And I'm still surprised that more players don't really go for first. Now, I had a good long conversation with Nichols last night, and I told him straight up, you beat 309 players in a ultra difficult day of racing. How much money do you think you deserve to win? And you can watch the show. It's on. It just got posted today, but it was on live last night. And I said, don't you think you deserve 150K for finishing first? Like, you beat 309 people that each put $1,000 in, $309,000 into the players pool, and you get 60K for first, or 65, whatever it is. Well, you get the 10,000 for the BCBC and 5,000 or whatever for the KDBC, but call it 80K, call it 90K. What is the breaking point? Like, where do you honor someone for taking risks like that? Now, it wasn't as much of a risk for him. He liked the horse in the second last race. That was a Trendsetter. That was a 35-1 shot. I misquoted it as in the 40s before. Same thing. Very difficult horse, deserves to win. Hats off. This is wearing this hat in his honor because he was wearing the Pressure's Privilege shirt last night, and I told him I make hats, and I love phrases. I love to pick up on things, patterns, people. You can learn a lot from just looking at someone's face. You can see a lot in someone's eyes. You can see a lot from the way they speak. You can see a lot from the decisions they make, whether the way that they're cutting people off in traffic, whether they're being polite, whether they're being vocal. Maybe they're going against the grain. Maybe they're being authentic in a way that isn't for me, but I still respect them. Anyway, Nichols has a gift, and it's not on accident. He is able to predict mythical games in a whole nother stratosphere. And he's done it consistently, and he's done it in cash now many times. So he has to me, it's like, if you're not making, over 100K in a cash game. It's not a major. It's just not a thing. And, I've probably finished, I think when I was looking at my stats, it was like over 20 something, 23, I think, games I've made more than no, I think it was like around 20 more than $100,000 scores, and, over 30 wins in cash games over the last like 12 years. But, and that doesn't mean you're always finishing first, but there's a level of risk that it takes to bet big money. It's not for everyone. And I'm not even thinking in the BCBC, people should do this. It's up to you. You have your goals. You don't have to go for the jugular. It's just, if you like the horse, and like isn't the wrong word. It's like, can you put a number on a horse? Because then as you get to the last race in the BCBC, every horse is value. You're getting double on almost every horse you bet. If you like it, if you don't want to risk it, because it's a lot of money betting 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand on a horse. So with this prize money for the Grade 1 gamble, I invite all horse players to think about, and I'll add this comment in there too, the background. What is fair? Is 25% fair of the 300,000? Is what, 75K fair? 25% goes to the winner? I don't know. Doesn't feel right. To me, Nichols deserves 150K. I would say 50%, hands down. I know Del Mar does a good job of providing a pretty high first place prize pool. BCBC, I was reading, I think I saw something about them adding more money to the prize pool, but pushing it down further. I still can't believe the BCBC isn't $1 million for first yet. It kind of pains my soul, because that is the mecca of horse racing, truly the mecca. Every single trainer is gearing his horses or get his or her horses up for that day. And it blows my mind. Love Tim Schramm, love Breeders' Cup, love all of what they do, but getting their prize money for first, it should be higher. I think it's a better story to go around the world to the gambling community and say, hey, somebody made $1 million betting on horse racing. There was $1 million bonus, by the way. I don't know if any of you remember that, but there was a time where we would put 7,500, double it, basically 5, 6, 7, 8 grand. We would bet on ourselves to get a chance at winning. Well, it wasn't $1 million bonus. It was like probably 600, 700K after it was an annuity. I did that at least 5 times through a probably over 50K. But then I won a Del Mar one where I bet on myself, put $500 down and got 50 grand, because of a insurance policy that was set up for that tournament, which was cool. I don't know if many people know that, but at Del Mar, you could bet $500 on yourself to win the tournament at 100 to 1. I know Paul Matthias did that, I think, at NHC once. That was cool. And he won the NHC. That was beautiful. So when you think about how much money it takes to go into winning tournaments, the people should be rewarded at the top that do that. And if the tracks want more churn, as they say, then let people bet less races. Don't force people to bet to 7 races a day. The fundamental logic behind telling someone you must do this when they're not necessarily desiring to do it, thinking that that's going to lead to them betting more and more and more and more and more. If you're in the tournament and you're going to be betting 2, 3, 5, 7 grand, if you're in the tournament, you're going to churn that money. It's averaged 1.7 across almost all tournaments is the average. Maybe it's 1.9 on Breeders' Cup. And so the audacity to handcuff us horse players and say, hey guys, bet 7 races because we want you to. Just because. Oh, because we think it's more churn for us. Okay, Is that horse player friendly? Um, and when you do that, we're gonna assume that when you do win on the things you don't really like, that you're gonna bet more. Like, that's the fundamental logic strain that I still can't follow. Um, you can have a minimum number of races. I think Chris does a great job at Del Mar, what, 3 or 4 or whatever. Um, 7 races is ridiculous. Um, I understand that racetracks want churn. Horse players want a lower takeout. Tournaments give us a chance to have a lower takeout because when I'm playing this Laurel tournament today and I put $250 down on a 3-to-1 shot that won, and I'll check the standings in a second. If somebody has the standings for that ExpressBet tournament, throw it in the chat and I'll get to your questions in a sec, guys. You know, where are the tracks putting money into the pot to sweeten it? Why are other gambling companies across other sports industries putting money into the pot, sweetening the pot? But we have tournaments, $309,000 goes into a pot, and the winner gets 90K. I get people want BCBC. Keeneland wants to give away BCBC seats. They want people coming back to bet more. I get that. Take that out of the bottom. Give the winner his due. I'm not even talking about mine. Like, I think I probably should have got 75, whatever. I'm not even talking about me. I'm talking to the person, the spoils. Victor, the spoils go to the victor, man. And I'm just like, it's just starting to make me wonder, like, can the horse players come together and have some demands on these tournaments, on these rules? If you're gonna put cash money into games and you're gonna risk money, like, it's a hard decision today to decide with this Twin Spires tournament at Keeneland. It's $1,000 buy-in, right? So 500, I think, goes to the bets. 500, your bankroll, 500 goes to the pot. What do you think it takes to win the Twin Spires Keeneland tournament today? Have a crack in your mind. $500. Is it going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 12x? Well, guess what? It doesn't matter if you win because it's KDBC seats. So if it's KDBC seats, they're valued around 5K. So if you're going to be betting the KDBC or this Keeneland tournament today, and you're betting $500 to get to $5,000, why are you playing this tournament? Just bet cash. You'll get the same exact amount of payout. There's no value. There's no EV. If you bet $500 and throw it into a pot for a tournament, and you're going to try to get to 10x, that's 5K. That's the exact amount of money that it takes, or that's the prize. So the fundamental math in some of the tournaments is putting me in a position to bet less tournaments. And that's why I haven't bet as many tournaments in the last year or so, last 2 years, well, year and a half. It's like I used to usually do 2. Last couple years, maybe 3 years, so I started playing 1, sometimes 2 on the obviously Breeders' Cup, and some of the bigger ones, Pegasus 1. Although this year I did 2 because I liked One Stripe a lot. But like, there's certain parameters that we have to say. It all goes back to discipline, though. It's all the same frequency. It's all the same story, the same voices. You know when you should and shouldn't be doing things. You get that feeling in your body, especially if you're religious with it, and you know that you're getting those downloads where it's like, this is too much money I'm betting. It doesn't feel right. I would love to see the tournament community come together, start thinking about rules and boundaries. How much money should be assigned to the buy-ins, the entry fees? How many, what's the breakdown? First, second, third, fourth? Let's think about that. To win a tournament, to win it, you're going to have to risk, and you're not going to win more than 10% of the time. I click around 10% of the time, and that's over 12 years. And that's like going through excruciating analysis on myself. And most people aren't going to do that. They don't have the time, they don't have the passion, they don't have the money, whatever. So if you're going to play tournaments, I think all of us need to have some set of guidelines. How much money to enter? What's the prize breakdown for second, third, fourth? Where do we draw the line? Breeders' Cups, and it's an interesting one. There's so much money. It's such a beautiful thing. I don't want to like by any means slam it. I do think more money should go to first, 100%, for the story and for the risk. When people are betting tens and thousands of dollars, 10 and 20, I mean, I bet almost what, 50, 60 grand last year in the Breeders' Cup collectively. Like, if you're risking 60K, don't you think you should probably be getting at least 10, 15x for taking those kind of shots? That's, again, I'm biased. Everyone, hates on me being a big aggressive player and thinks I'm loose cannon, whatever. I don't care. And I'm not here to please. I'm just trying to live my life. I'm trying to play this game the best I can. I'm trying to be the best in the world at this. And I'm also trying to help people avoid making a lot of mistakes. I want a competitive game. I loved what Dave Nichols did. It didn't hurt when he beat me. I knew if you watch the live stream, when I aired the $10,000 bet live, you will see my instant reaction. Probably going to finish second. I knew it right then. The horse was 15 to 1 morning line, and I bet 1,000, and he was around 9 or so when I bet it. I think he went off at 8 or something. It wasn't enough to get me to then do my all-in bet. And that was a mistake because I wasn't mentally prepared for the scratches that happened that I learned 30 minutes before that. And I needed to be more aggressive. That doesn't mean you should be aggressive. That doesn't mean other people should be aggressive. You got to know you, your style, your threshold, your bankroll, your matrix of decisions. You got to study what makes you good. Everyone talks about, like, what do I do in the last race? Save money for the last race, save this. If you can't pick a horse's probability and say this horse should be 4 to 1, you're not going to win many tournaments. If you can't put a number on a horse and understand where your strengths and weaknesses are, you're always going to be floating. If you want to be a hobbyist, great. Love this game. This is not for everybody. But I'm speaking to hardcore tournament players, and I'm speaking to people that really take this game serious. And a lot of you guys probably aren't going to agree with me. A lot of people are going to crap on what I'm saying. I'm trying to come up with a philosophy or a blueprint for horse players to understand tournaments. And over time, I'm going to do a lot of episodes, bringing a lot of different people on, talking about some sticking points. It's weird too. I'm in this weird place. There's things I know about tournaments that I don't necessarily want to go too deep into because it's part of my edge. Slowly, I will reveal some things that can help people lose less. There's no benefit in me giving you a horse. If I were to give out horses, the odds, I'm not saying that people would slam it, but there's a horse that was yesterday at Keeneland. I told Shu about. I was like, yeah, this horse is interesting. May take a crack. The horse goes off. It's 14, goes off at I think 6 to 1, 5, 6 to 1. It's that turf race. You know how much money was bet on that horse to get it from 14 to 6? I was kind of calculating. I think it was like 8 grand, maybe. $8,000 took a horse down from 14 to 6. There's no point in giving somebody a fish. The whole point is teaching people how to fish. So pardon me if you don't like that I'm not going to be necessarily throwing horses' names out and stuff like that, but I'm here to be a guide and to bring other people on that can talk more hardcore. Everything out there right now is so fluff. Um, I I don't know who to turn people to enter the game of horse racing. And I'm gonna try to bridge that gap through over the course of my shows and stuff. I wanna get people and I'm not talking about someone that's at level 1, talking about getting people from level 3 to level 4 or something like that, or level 6 to level 7. Um, so recapping, and I'm gonna answer these questions that are coming up. Know yourself, put numbers on horses. If you can't put a probability number on a horse, start writing down how many times you like a horse to win over 10 races, 20 races, 30 races. Write the odds, write the horse's name down, and start seeing what you're hitting and what you're clicking. Are you hitting your 4-to-1 shots at 20% of the time and breaking even? Or are you not delivering and you're hitting at 15%? Then walk away from all your 4-to-1 shots for the rest of your life or a month, or slim it down, trim it down. Understand the sweet spots, your favorites, your second favorites, your third favorites, and your long shots. Maybe you need to be a long shot player. You didn't know that. Maybe you didn't know that you're actually a better long shot player than you are. Long shots are uncomfortable. Everything that's good in this life is uncomfortable at first. Everything. Think about everything in your life that you've accomplished. There was a grueling experience that you went through to get to a place of paradise. That means you're going to have to hold yourself accountable to this weird little sensation in your body. Oh, I'm probably not going to win today. Okay. If you bet like Dave Nichols did, and you bet on Trendsetter at 30 something to 1, there's no question that Trendsetter is going to win that race probably 1 out of 30 times. And even if he wins 1 out of 40, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that math to get the difference in the nuance of like 1 to 2%. It's very, or 1 to 3%. It's very difficult. But my point is stretching yourself to come out of that cocoon is that's the mental gymnastics of this game. Put a number on your picks. Put a confidence rating on your picks. Is it an A, B, or C? Do you love it, like it, or is it neutral? Start tracking yourself. Put that in your phone. Every time you make a bet, just write it in a phone little app that says notes, bets. Just write the horse's name down, the odds, and put the finish position at the end of each day. Start looking at yourself. After you get aware of your strengths and weaknesses, you can manage your time, looking at the races that only fit into your mold. Which races, if I'm talking about cash play right now, not tournament play, they're kind of together, analogous, gosh, I can't even speak. But if you can't play cash and you can't master your probabilities, you are never going to win in the long run. It's a game of the long run. So when you get uncomfortable in that day, I'm not going to win today, I'm going to bet this 21 shot, whatever, 10 to 1 shot. Over a month, and you have the track record to show yourself that you can win, just get used to it. Don't expect to win every day. Like I said before, the best are winning 1 out of 5, 20%. That's the best. I would say the elite type non-CAW players, between probably 18 and 22%. So if you're going to take the game as a hobby and you don't care about money, you don't really want to track yourself, throw everything I said out the window. It's fine. Not for you. I'll be right back if you can still hear me. If you can't, hold 1 second. right, I don't know if this is live, but there was some technical difficulties in my little Batcave studio. So I'm gonna try to continue here. We're gonna see if this works because I do see some numbers up, but I don't know if it's working. All right, so how do you manage minimum races where you see no value or strong opinion? I don't bet a race that I ever see no value in. Simple as that. So if I have a strong opinion, then I gotta look at those races and go, how do I quantify it? So let me give you an example. If I like two horses, won the Breeders' Cup, and again, I don't even know if you guys are hearing me. So if you are hearing me, put a little message in the comment thing because power did go out, but it's back. So if you look at the BCBC, if I thought Beza and Diamond Rain were both like interesting horses and the value for each of them was there, like there's a little value on each of them. If there was, then what am I going to do? If I treat them the same, there's no, like, if there's the same value to coin flip, if the odds are going to basically be where I think they're going to be, there's no, that's the game of the intuition and the little whispers that helps you get to the next levels when you're in context like that. So if there's no value and it's a minimum race or a minimum amount of races and I have to bet, you can bet multiple horses to win to try to get through it. You can bet a horse to show or a horse to place if they don't even allow show or wagering, whatever. You have to do one of those things. Show bets usually click up around 80% for me. So I know what that math looks like. So if you have 4 show bets, 0.8 times to the 4th power is 0.64 times 0.64, 0.36. That means 1 out of 3 times I'm going to lose a show bet if I have to bet 4 show horses on a day. But I don't, you have to follow the rules of the tournament. I don't like minimum races that I don't have an opinion on, of course. So I don't really know where else to go with that. So you can throw another question, but John here, good pick on 3 at Laurel. Oh, this is Mr. Hurd. Dude, I was telling people last night, and again, I assume I'm live right now. The technical difficulties went out. So I see live in the upper corner and I see some hundreds and hundreds of people in the chat, whatever. But yeah, and John, I don't know if you heard the earlier part of the show, but I was just saying classic tournament play where I'm trying to get to a number and I got to jump back on the tournament stuff to see the schedule or the leader stuff. But when you're torn between three horses, just take the odds. The probabilities are all the same to me. I'm not a Laurel guy. I'm not an anti-Laurel guy. I'm saying my probability of winning that tournament is 5% today. Now that I hit the first leg, it's probably closer to 20 to 25% now. Maybe 18 to 30%, depending on the horse I'm going to choose. And also I got to choose a target. But that's a whole nother element to this. I have to decide, do I want to bet the horse I think that can win and hope that I can get first and get that 15K? Or do I sit there and just try to take the shot to get to the 15K because the EV is so strong? And that's the other dilemma. But I do have another entry, so we'll see what happens there. And maybe I can split and do 2 different horses. We'll see what happens. But anyway, I assume that I've covered the things I needed to talk about today, which are tournaments, setting rules, having a guide like myself, people, there are others that exist out there that talk about structure, the importance of having goals, the importance of having discipline, the importance of sticking to your plan, the importance of understanding that you will maneuver a little bit in audible, but have your love it and like it's and neutral bets together, A, B's, and C's organized. Know where your strengths and weaknesses are. Overall, the tournaments, this tournament community needs to come together and set some boundaries, some boundary conditions. So we need to have a very clear structure for first, second, and third based on what happened at Keeneland. I'll say it another time. Dave Nichols deserved 150K. In my opinion, hands down. What he did he deserved 150K on top of the money he won. It should have been a $200,000 day. That's the story to me that should have been floating around horse racing. It's $100,000. Again, love Keeneland, love the people there, love everything about Keeneland. But they want people to bet on the Breeders' Cup. So they want to give away a bunch of Breeders' Cup seats, and they want people to go to the track and come back and bet. And it's like, let us decide. Give the money to us. Let us decide. Or remove some of the money from other positions. Remove some of the cash money past third or fourth. If somebody gets fourth place or fifth place, no offense, whoever that was, and has 3, 4, 5x what they started with, does that deserve $10K? I don't know. But anyway, I got to get back to the tournaments on Laurel, but I wanted to also mention what I started the show off with, which is sovereignty in that race is a situation where, for me, I will be rooting for sovereignty and journalism to win. I will never be betting on either of those horses. Not that they can't win, and I guess it's raining too, so that makes it even a little stranger. I hope if you do bet it, you play a price. Betting those two horses at those odds and trying to beat a 20% takeout is a losing long-term bet. So stay away. The reason I'm rooting for them to win is because I want to bet against them next time. And that's the mindset of the horse player, is you bet against the hype horses if you feel so fit. And I'm going to be bringing on a bunch of people in the next few weeks. And over the course of the time, I want to get people like leveled up. I want to help people. I want to get people structured. I want to get people aware of the best practices to take on so that they can track themselves, like what I was going through today. So I'll post this video later. We'll see what happens in the Laurel tournament. Probably not going to play Keeneland. I'm tempted, but like I said, betting $500 to get to, I guess you could bet. So the alternative is you could bet the Keeneland tournament at TwinSpires today, and you could bet $500 at like 4-1 on a 4-1 shot, or get to 4-1 or 5x. Keep your fingers crossed and hope that you qualify for the KDBC. If I had a horse like that, I might do that. So that's not necessarily, it's straddling the line, because then if you don't finish in the top few and you don't get the KDBC, you threw away this money. You could have bet the other 500 at 5-1 and got another 2,500. But anyway, reach out to me on Twitter if you want. John, I wanted to say one more thing to you. I talked about your show, that you were in the pilot. I mentioned that yesterday, that I found the old pilot, the original pilot for horse players that was scrapped, but they used 90% of it, and he was in it. So hopefully we can air that. That'd be cool. You could watch John Hurd run around the racetrack. He should have been on the show. He's a stand-up guy. He's an amazing guy, great father, and just one of the most spirited people in horse racing, one of the characters, one of the many. But thanks for listening. It was a bit winded here, but I wanted to get a few things out there on the tournament side about the structure of tournaments, walking away from sovereignty today and journalism, just watching the race, rooting for them to win. It's good for the sport. It's good for the next bet, because I'm always thinking about the next bet. And we got Derby coming up. I'll be out there and stuff. So thanks so much for watching, and pardon the power outage here, but sometimes it happens. And when you're in the Bat Cave, it gets dark. So